All right, so here's the thing. There are 3 types of ghouls in this world. The first type are the ones who love Halloween but have severe social anxiety that ends up leading to FOMO about not being able to do enough for Halloween. The second type are the ghouls like me who go so hard at the beginning of the season that halfway through you are just like totally drained and feeling like I cannot continue. I must just stay home and watch movies and TV. And 3 are the ghouls, the go-getters, the ones that I truly admire, which are the ones who go hard all month long and save the rest for when they're dead. You know what I mean. But the one thing that all 3 of us ghouls have in common is that we all need some kind of spooky shows to help us keep the spook alive at some point throughout our Halloween festivities. So today we're going to be going into all of the spooky shows that are streaming and on my watch list currently. And we're also going to be getting into a very great edition of how the community is keeping the spook alive this very spooktacular Halloween season. We got to set the mood first with some witch's brew. With a spooky straw. I came prepared. Hear that sizzle. That witch's brew is sizzling. All right. Ooh. I forgot how good that was. All right. Let's get into it. Happy Halloween, Nerdy Ghouls! Welcome back to Not Another Spooky Podcast. I'm your ghost hostess, Mandy Spooks, and you, my listeners and community, are the co-hosts. On this show, we fangirl over spooky pop culture and learn from it too. Whether you love Halloween, horror, true crime, ghosts, or basically anything spooky, then you have found your spooky oasis because here we fangirl over all of it. I cannot express how happy I am to be back in my favorite place of the spooky oasis, which is behind the mic on Not Another Spooky Podcast. It has been way too long. Thank you so much for your patience. I was not anticipating getting sick this spooky season, so I'm finally feeling better and back to my normal self. We'll see how we're feeling by the end of this episode after I've been talking my little head off. But I just wanted to take a moment to say that I hope you all are having a spooktacular Halloween season. I feel like it has just gone so fast but so slow all at the same time. But I have seen all of you celebrating on Instagram and our Discord server, and it brings me so much joy to see all of you living your best spooky life. But I did want to take a minute to just like pause and talk about like how real it gets right around this time where Halloween is just fleeting, right? Like we can just see it fading away right before our eyes. It gives us anxiety and we start to feel like I haven't done enough. I'm not going to be able to do enough. It's going to be over soon. I'm going to have post-Halloween blues. And so I thought that this would be the perfect time to talk about how everyone's keeping the spook alive, fangirl together, celebrate what everyone's doing together, but then also talk about all of the spooky shows that we can look forward to and binge as we close out this really great season together and look into the months to come. I always feel like November is the time to wind down from Halloween, like fight those Halloween blues, enjoy some spooky stuff as we transition into Spookmas. So don't you fret, my ghouls. I've got you covered. We are going to take spooky season all the way into November, and we're gonna have some major Spookmas vibes. I am so excited. If you've been here a while, you know that your ghoul loves herself a Spookmas moment, and this year I'm very excited to bring it to life completely on YouTube, so you have that to look forward to. All right, but I am starting to digress because I'm talking about a season that isn't even here yet. Right now we are in spooky season, Mandy. Focus, you spooky queen. All right, so today we're going to be grave digging into all of the spooky shows that you can binge this Halloween or the rest of the year because that's how we do things around here, But before we get into all the fangirling, I did want to take a moment to go through some news and updates.
Haunted housekeeping.
So I was wondering, did any of you notice the cool new addition to my set? these really cool magical lights. I want to send a major thank you to Olney for sending me a set of their color changing rope lights. This is not sponsored, but I am very grateful because I have been feeling for a while that my set was just missing something to bring the like spooktacular factor to it, you know, like the magic, the sparkles, the Mandy vibes. So I really feel like these lights just really brought it together, and I'm really glad that they reached out and wanted to send me these. So thank you so much. If you are interested in checking out this product, I've left a link in the description, and you can also save 20% with code FA20. I will say that you guys know me, you know that Mr. Spooks and I love lighting, and these are definitely really great quality. We really love like how bright they were, and we really love all of the different settings and like pattern modes that the remotes come with, so I highly recommend. All right, and speaking of the spooktacular factor, this is nothing new, but it has become one of my new favorite traditions. If you're tuning in on YouTube, drop a coffin emoji in the comments right now to show your nerdy ghoul spirit. And if you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I would greatly appreciate if you could leave a solid 5-star review for your favorite spooky podcast and let other people know how awesome and how spooktacular this magical community is. All right, that was plain and simple, right? Not too much, but not so fast. Before we get into all of the spooky shows, I thought we could share a cup of brew and talk about how we're keeping the spook alive. All right, ghouls, today's cup of brew is very special to me. I feel like a lot of you already know what this is, but it is the Alani Witch's Brew energy drink, which came in clutch today because I was like, oh no, what am I going to drink today? It is like the ultimate Halloween podcast, and I don't have any Halloween vibes. I don't want to go to Starbucks, but I had this waiting in the fridge, and I was like, alas, this is perfect. I'm tired. It's been a long work day. We got to get through this podcast with magical witchy vibes. So this is, I think the first year this came out was 2020. I don't know if it was out before, but that was the first time I tried it. I had not found it anymore until this year. I was looking so hard everywhere, could not find it, and it finally arrived at my Target. I was trying to see, sorry, the lighting is making it very difficult to read, but it does have pictures of the caramel apples here, so I do think that it's like a caramel apple flavor, which you think would be disgusting in an energy drink, but somehow it just comes together. It works. It's a vibe. We're going with it. And I don't know why. I just thought I'd share the next time you guys see me in a podcast, I'm not going to have braces anymore. Isn't that crazy? My official braces removal is this coming Tuesday. Over the moon about it. I have already bought all of the horrible candy that I could not eat while I had braces, mostly all the gummy stuff. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys want me to do like a eating treats I couldn't have with braces after getting my braces off. With my new smile. We will need a lot of toothbrushing after that. But yeah, I'm just really excited about that. So I thought that I would share that because caramel apples are at the top of my list this year for things that I get to eat again, because I couldn't eat caramel or bite apples very well because they're hard and it's scary to think of like breaking a bracket. I'm starting to digress, but I just wanted to get that out because I'm really excited about it, and I know you guys love to know what I'm excited about. All right, but moving on, before we get into all of the very great how everyone is keeping the spook alive submissions, I did want to give a good old Mandy message from the heart. One of the responses I received for this episode was from vrose23, and she said, "Do you or the community have any advice on managing your expectations regarding spooky season? I've had to skip a bunch of plans due to work and weather issues, so I'm trying to stay in the moment and enjoy the month, but it's flying by, and it's a little hard not to be disappointed. Do you have tips for turning around what feels like a letdown of a spooky season? Thanks." End quote. Oh, all right. I'm sorry. I got so excited talking about my braces that I ran out of breath. That is apparently an ongoing recovery symptom from being sick. But all jokes aside, I want to say that I am very sorry to hear that you are having not the best spooky season, But I think it's really important to take a moment to acknowledge that this is the case for many people in our community. I recently did a post on Instagram about this, and it's not the first time I addressed this on the podcast, but as amazing as it is to be able to find our people on the internet, it can also have negative effects like seeing everyone else having a better spooky season than you, for example. So I will be the first to say that Halloween never goes as planned for me. There is no one year that I could tell you I had a perfect Halloween season, and there are two reasons. One is because Halloween is always fleeting for us. We're always so aware that there's a deadline coming that we're always like, we're never living in the moment. We're always just thinking like, this is going to end soon. That made me emotional. And two is because we wait all year. We put this pressure on ourselves that we're like waiting all year for this magical time, that once it comes, we can't ever really live up to that expectation we've built for ourselves of it being the most magical season, most insta-worthy season ever, you know? So as you all know, my season didn't go as planned because I got the C word. I don't want YouTube to penalize me, which is why I've been avoiding it. But it took me out of the game for about 2 weeks this spooky season, which was like the worst. Honestly, I feel like I am in peak Mandy Spooks creator moment ever in all of the years that I've been a creator. We hit 5K subs. The podcast was doing well. I got invited to all these media events. Like, she was thriving. Mandy Spooks was thriving. And it was a little humbling to hit this moment of like, wow, I have to pause everything in my life. Like, I was struggling to keep up with my career, like launching one of the biggest campaigns that I've ever been able to manage in my career and hitting 5K. Like, it was just crazy that everything happened at once. But I also feel like the universe was telling me like, Mandy, take a breath, slow down. Everything will continue once you just like take a minute. But as upset as I was about having to take a break from spooky season and slowing down, it made me realize that I was forced to enjoy things that I never take time to enjoy during spooky season, which was just like staying home and enjoying just the fact knowing like Halloween is outside, the leaves are changing, the temperatures are dropping, and living in that and cooking cozier meals. And actually, like, I can't tell you, as sick as I felt, it was just so comforting being able to like cook myself a warm, cozy meal. And between sleep and keeping up with work, I watched so much TV for myself. Like, any time that I have to watch TV usually always goes to watching it with Mr. Spooks, which means like I have to compromise on what I'm watching. And having the time to myself gave me so much time to watch like what Mandy wants to watch without any cares in the world. Like, that was all I could do. Like, I can't tell you how many episodes I had to like keep rewatching because I would be falling asleep halfway through because I was sick, and then I would just like wake up and rewatch the same episode. It was like a true blur, but also I just enjoyed being able to do that so much. So for me personally, I just really tried to use this moment of like, okay, I was not anticipating being sick during spooky season, but I am going to focus on the positive and do what I can to enjoy these moments. Even if I was dreadfully sick at times, there were tiny moments where I was enjoying having a cozy meal. There were moments where I was enjoying watching these spooky shows that I have always wanted to make time for. And even if I had to just fall asleep halfway through, rewatch it again, it was like my time. It was like taking back my spooky season, you know? So I'm gonna get into just a couple of tips for turning your spooky season around. As much as I love social media, I do feel like sometimes it is a very big driver of this Halloween anxiety we get. So my first tip would be to just take a social media break for one weekend, just the weekend, and focus on creating magical moments. Not a whole day, not the whole weekend, just one small thing in the morning. It could be something as small as going to get a spooky donut from Dunkin', or making a pumpkin coffee at home and going for a walk. And then another small thing in the evening, whether you take an hour to read a spooky graphic novel like Pumpkinheads, or another thing too is if you feel like spooky season is a bust, you're not going to go to any events, like indulge and like live in the fact that you're going to binge one of these shows we're going to talk about today the rest of the month, and make it a vibe. Get some spooky snacks, Halloween Oreos, Halloween cookies, the Tostitos pumpkin chips with cheese, you know, like just live in those tiny moments, and just remind yourself that Halloween does not have to be a huge production. If there's one thing that I have learned, is that there will always be another spooky season, and there will always be times to go all in on the high production Halloween stuff, like picking a pumpkin at a pumpkin patch and going leaf peeping and going to haunts. Like, there is always years for that, and there are also years where you just slow down and enjoy the change of the season. But I just want to take a moment to say that I hope that if there is one thing you all have learned from me, it's that Halloween lives in our heart. Oh my God, I'm going to get emotional again. But it really does. Halloween lives in our heart, and it's not about the decor. It's not about all the photo ops we get. It's about that magical feeling that we create in our hearts when we see or hear a story that keeps the spook alive. So I hope that helped a little bit. I hope sharing some of my struggles and how I overcame them helped a little bit. But I will also pose this question to the rest of the community. If you all have any tips on how to turn around a disappointing spooky season, please leave them in the comments below. And Ghoul, I am sending you so much love, and I really hope that you find some magic at some point the rest of this season. And maybe one of our other co-host submissions might inspire you to do something you hadn't thought of. So let's get into how our Nerdy Ghoul Society is keeping the spook alive this Halloween season. So, Essie Zune said, prepping for my Halloween party this weekend. My house is fully decorated, and now I just have to make all the spooky food, end quote. Okay, I'm going to put Sabrina on the spot right now and just say, Ghoul, congratulations. Sabrina is having a baby Nerdy Ghoul. I don't know many details yet, but I'm very excited to hear that. I think you're going to be a spooktacular, phenomenal spooky mom, and I can't wait to see all of your spooky mom adventures, because I know you're going to go all in, and I hope that your Halloween party is an absolute blast. Okay, Courtney's Cats and Cauldrons said, I've been going to haunted houses, end quote. Ghoul, that's my jam. If I could go to more haunted houses throughout the season, I would. But man, they start to get expensive quick, honestly. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just wanted to say that I am jealous, because I wish I knew where I was going with that. In my head, I was thinking, I wish there were as many haunted houses as there are pumpkin patches. But I realized that there are actually quite a few haunts in Colorado. It just adds up very quickly when you start going to all of them. Okay, and then Hauntingly Cute Mom said, getting excited for a Halloween pop-up market next weekend and planning my Halloween party, end quote. That sounds so much fun. I feel like this year there have been so many pop-up markets in comparison to the past, and I think that's so cool. Mary Lou 03 said, honestly, watching spooky fall related YouTube creators, decor, baking, and crafting, end quote. Hey, that sounds like a fun time to me. And notice all of her activities involve staying home. So like I said, you can create the magic at home too, ghouls. Halloween is my happy place said, enjoying lots of horror films on streaming platforms as it is our time. Went to see Danny Elfman and the BBC Orchestra perform music from Tim Burton films, and enjoying the pumpkin lattes wherever I can when out and about. Having a ghoul friend over Saturday to watch Witches of Eastwick and have spooky patterned face and feet packs for some TLC, end quote. I think you meant to say for some self-scare, Poppy. But I am glad to hear that you are living it up this Halloween. I did see on her Instagram that Tim Burton showed up at this performance, which seemed really cool. So that must have been a once-in-a-lifetime experience. All right, and then Soft Little Pumpkin said, trying, just been kind of tired to be honest, end quote. Cool. It all goes back to what we were saying, and I am actually glad that someone else also commented something similar about just feeling tired. Just enjoy it, you know, pick one of the spooky shows we're going to talk about today, make yourself some popcorn, bake some cookies, and call it a good season, Ghoul. Like, take the win. I feel it, and I give you permission to enjoy the tiredness. All right, and then my familiar Flopsker said, costume making and eating corn candy, end quote. Drop a purple heart in the comments if you understand why we say corn candy around here. That is a deep cut. All right, and then Ghoul with the Curls said spooky drinks, movies at the cemetery, and spooky 10-year anniversary photos. And sorry, I was gonna say end quote, but it also says HHN is coming up on Wednesday, end quote. Oh, Ghoul. Claudia, I'm so happy for you. I'm happy to hear that you all are going to HHN after all, and happy 10 years. Wow, that is double the amount of time Mr. Spooks and I have been married, and I'm sure that you have some incredible memories, so congratulations. I'm so happy for you, ghouls. All right, and then Monica Galman said, I went to Salem watching a movie a day. Today was totally killer. Listening to Sirius XM Scream Channel, Lovecraft and Midnight Macabre on Spotify, reading spooky short stories, eating too much candy, making Halloween treats, end quote. Cool. Okay, this is a vibe. First of all, I want to give a major thank you to Monica because I had no idea that XM Radio had a Scream station, so I got to listen to it. I have like the free trial from having my new car right now. So yesterday I went Halloween hunting for my boo bucket, which you guys already saw on Instagram because how was I not going to make it a moment? But I listened to the Scream station while I was doing that because I didn't know it existed, and it was pretty cool because they have a really cool variety going. Like they have spooky sounds, like haunted house sounds, but then they mix in like spooky music from like horror films, and then they also mix in like short stories. So it's a cool little variety of things, like you don't know what to expect on your drive. And I also wanted to say that I too saw Totally Killer, and I had a really great time watching it. It was a fun watch. So let me know in the comments down below if you ghouls want a podcast about Totally Killer on Prime. All right, and then Nova77 Jane said, I'm thinking about entering the pumpkin carving contest at work, end quote. Do it! That is one of the things that, like, if I worked in office, everyone would be totally shocked that I'm not, like, a pro at carving pumpkins. Everyone's always shocked that I don't make my own costumes, and they'd be shocked to know that I don't carve my own pumpkins. That's Mr. Spooks' job. I also, before we go on, I wanted to give a major shout out to Nova77 Jane as well and thank her because she reached out to me before I went to go see the Eras tour at the theater. And it just means so much to me when people reach out to me for something that's like a deep cut, that's not like spooky, but they know that I love it even if it's not spooky, because we need to normalize liking basic things as spooky girls, and Taylor Swift is one of them. So shout out to Nova for fangirling with me about the Eras tour. All right. Hello Sparkle said, drawing spooky things for someone special, end quote. If you're tuning in, you are in for a very great surprise. As I mentioned Spookmas earlier, you can actually already snag your Spookmas merch at my shop link below if you want to be prepared for Spookmas season. Just saying. As always, Ashley knocked it out of the park, creating my vision and the total vibe that is Spookmas Mandy Spook style. So please go check it out. All right. And then, see, it's all coming like right here now, feeling congested again. It's just never gonna be over. Never over. Never, never. Sorry. All right. It's that time. We've had too much witch's brew, apparently. Okay, Femme Fatale Darling said, I'm watching new and old spooky shows. Just recently rewatched The Munsters, end quote. Oh, I love that. I was just realizing I should have also done an episode that's like older or ongoing spooky shows that I love that are not just the new ones. So let me know if that's a list you want as well in the comments down below. All right, and then Yana Loves Mitchie said, baking spooky treats and soup, end quote. Yeah, like I said, I feel like that was me. I feel like these burr months I'm gonna like live in the kitchen, honestly. Like, I don't know what it is about cozier weather. It just makes you want to cook and be in like witch mode with your cauldron, you know? Anyway, that was all of the submissions we had for Keeping the Spook Alive. Thank you all for participating. I love hearing how you're celebrating your spooky season, and I cannot wait to see how you celebrate the rest of the year. All right, as for me, how am I keeping the spook alive? I feel like I am an open book these days. You guys have seen all the adventures I'm going on. There is no adventure left unfilmed for you ghouls because, like I said, I know a lot of you have the blues. I know the economy's tough right now for so many reasons. I understand not everyone can live up their best spooky dreams this season, so I've tried really hard to take you ghouls along with us on all of those adventures. If you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I invite you to check out the channel. We have some great stuff on there, from going to the 13th floor haunted house in Denver, to me holding a tarantula at a spider event, to the best fall festival I've ever been to. And we still have more coming to the channel, so please be sure to check it out. So on that note, I feel like we are ready to dive into spooky shows that are streaming. You guys are going to notice that this is basically going to be more of like Mandy's watch list, to be completely honest. But hey, they are still technically shows that are streaming, and new ones to be exact. So starting off with what I'm calling the spookiest streaming app, Peacock. I mean, honestly, Peacock steals the show every year. Like, I genuinely feel like I want to do this, like, ranking of, like, streaming services as personalities or something, and Peacock would definitely win, like, the Halloween Lover Award, because they've had Halloween Kills, they're gonna have Five Nights at Freddy's now, and they just have such great spooky content, honestly, that it's just, like, they're the #1 streaming app, outside of Shudder, of course, for spooky content. Like, somebody there making the decisions is a spooky ghoul watching this. Like, prove me wrong. All right, so if you're on the fence about getting Peacock, at least for this month, if you're watching this video, Peacock is the vibe for you. So this spooky season, the show and character that stole my heart was Chucky. So I have wanted to watch Chucky since the first season it came out. We actually started it, Mr. Spooks and I, and he was not vibing with it, and therefore we stopped watching it because, like I mentioned earlier, I usually only have time to watch whatever I'm watching with Mr. Spooks at the same time. So yeah, once I got sick and was going absolutely insane not being allowed to create content or go out, I started binging Chucky, and it took me like one whole week to get through the first season because, like I mentioned, I kept like falling asleep and I couldn't like retain what I was watching because I was just so sick. Once I got through that first week though, I flew through season 2 like within 2 days, I think. And then I was like, okay, I can't wait. I'm gonna get Peacock after all for this month to just watch these first Chucky episodes, because they are releasing like the first half of season 3 right now in October, and then I think the second half of season 3 will be coming out next year at some point, like early next year. So in case you live under a rock and you don't know what Chucky is, the summary according to IMDb says, after a vintage Chucky doll turns up at a suburban yard sale, an idyllic American town is thrown into chaos as a series of horrifying murders begin to expose the town's hypocrisies and secrets, end quote. I mean, that is what it's about, but basically it's just really fun seeing a cute little doll running around causing chaos. And I will say that something I really love about this show is that it ties into the movies. Like, I feel like the storyline has done really well. Of course, we're still in the middle of season 3, but I'm totally vibing. Like, every season has kind of had its own, I guess, theme, you could say. Season 1 was, of course, like establishing the characters and the relationships between the kids. Season 2 was at a church setting, like a boarding school type church thing. Sorry, I just realized my hair is like out of control back there. Anyway, and then season 3 is at the White House, and I am just like vibing. I loved the show Scandal, so I feel like it's Scandal meets horror, and I am just over the moon about it. I'm having a lot of fun watching it. So let me know in the comments down below if you ghouls are interested in a like Chucky specific episode, maybe like once the rest of season 3 comes out, or maybe like a midpoint check-in, because I've been really enjoying it. I have just low-key been in love with Chucky behind the scenes like this entire year. So if you haven't already checked it out, like give it a try. Like the episodes are actually pretty decent. All right, and then moving on Peacock, there is a new animated series called Fright Crew, And this show, as soon as I started watching it, I thought of Nerd Squish, and I was like, okay, I need to message her and make sure she knows about this show. So the summary for this one says, an ancient prophecy and a voodoo queen put misfit teens in charge of saving New Orleans from the biggest demonic threat it's faced in almost 2 centuries. But honestly, saving the world might be easier than becoming friends, end quote. Dang. Okay. I did watch one episode. I don't know that I'm hooked, but a lot of you ghouls submitted this as something that you're watching to keep the spook alive and gave it pretty good reviews. So if you do like animated series, I would recommend checking this out, especially if you love New Orleans or Haunted Mansion, because it has a lot of New Orleans vibes in it. Okay. And then moving on, still on Peacock, we have John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. So this one is an exploration of true tales of terror that took place in seemingly perfect small towns. So something I like about this one is that it's supposed to be based on true stories, and it's almost giving true crime vibes, but I'm not positive on the stories yet. So I am interested in checking this one out in the next couple of months. And then this next one is kind of like a one-off, because I don't have too many things to recommend on Paramount Plus, but something that Mr. Spooks and I started binging this last couple of weeks was Why Women Kill. So this is an older series. It's not super spooky, but I feel like it is more murder mystery-esque / true crime. So what it is, I'm going to explain it to you based on the summary. So it says, an anthology series that follows 3 women in different decades, all living in the same house, as they deal with infidelity and betrayals in their marriage, end quote. So that's basically what it is. But I feel like when you hear anthology, you think like every episode is different, and it's not. It's every season is different, but the one season follows the same 3 different women that are happening at different times. So there's one happening, I think, like in the 60s, one in the 80s, and one in like the modern 2020, whatever, and you know that obviously someone's gonna kill and someone's gonna die, and you're trying to figure out the entire episode, like who it's gonna be, who's gonna be the first one, how is it gonna happen, and why are you gonna agree with it, like all those things. So I feel like if you like true crime, you'd probably enjoy this show. It's not spooky, but I have had a lot of fun watching it. So I recommend it. And again, it's on Paramount Plus. And since I don't have another thing to recommend on Paramount Plus, I am going to give a shout out to my favorite movie series on there, which is Monster High. I am sometimes embarrassed to talk about Monster High, but I feel I figured out why Monster High is so popular amongst millennials this weekend when I watched Monster High 2. And I think it's because us millennials grew up watching High School Musical, and Monster High is like High School Musical, but with monsters, basically. Like, it's got the love stories, it's got like the friend stories about fitting in, all of that, but with monsters, which we love. And it's not so corny that it feels like a little kid's movie. Like, it still feels like nostalgic almost to the kind of things that you used to love as a teenager. So I think that that's why Monster High has been really popular amongst millennials. And if you guys haven't watched it and you like spooky cute things and you vibe with Mandy Spooks, then I think you would definitely love these movies and should check them out. Give them a try. All right. And then next we have another one-off, which is not something new, but there is a new season. The Shining Veil just released season 2 on the Stars app. I am so excited about this one. If you ghouls love classic horror, then this is a show you want to check out. Season 1 was a lot of like a tribute to the Shining movie. Like, it wasn't the Shining story, but there was a lot of like Easter eggs that were pulled from the Shining. But I have been reading that season 2 is actually focusing on tributes and Easter eggs to very like classic historical horror, if that makes sense. And I thought it was really funny because when I read this article, it was like right after our 5K live stream on Friday the 13th. And I was like, oh my God, like this is what I mean. If it weren't for me being Mandy Spooks and all the things I do, I would never connect these things like full circle the way that I do sometimes. So on the stream, one of the Tombstone trivia questions was, what was the first horror movie ever made? And a lot of us thought it was Nosferatu, but it was not. It was I still don't have it memorized. It was The House of the Devil that was released in 1896. So when I was reading this article, they were talking about how the, I think like movie poster or something in the promo materials was a tribute to that movie. And they're talking about how this season 2 kind of has like tributes and Easter eggs or allusions, I don't know what the proper term is, to classic horror throughout history. So I'm really excited to watch it, and I feel like somebody in the universe that is like a deep horror expert or junkie or something needs to do a breakdown of like all of these Easter eggs, because I know I'm not going to catch them because I don't know enough historical horror to get the references, you know? So if you like classic horror, this is a must watch. I loved season 1. And in case you're wondering what it's about, actually, the one question you should be asking is who is in it, which is Courtney Cox, aka Gale Weathers, one of my favorite actresses. And the show says, or IMDb said, it's about a family moves to a small town into a house in which terrible atrocities have taken place, but nobody seems to notice except for Pat, aka Courtney Cox, who's convinced she's either depressed or possessed. Turns out the symptoms are exactly the same, end quote. So that's basically what happens in season 1. But if you've seen season 1, then you know what to expect for season 2. So I cannot recommend that show enough. Get a free trial, do something to binge like both seasons in one weekend, because I might end up rewatching season 1 just to enjoy season 2. And let me know in the comments if you girls want like a Shining Vale review for the podcast, because I would be so down. We just need a few of you to watch it to give me some co-host answers, you know? All right, and then these last 3 I feel are like the most popular in the community, but I kind of wanted to just go over them again in case maybe someone hadn't caught one of them. I do have thoughts on 2 of them so far to just kind of give my own opinion on them thus far. The first one is, of course, Goosebumps, streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu, which I thought was pretty cool. So I think everyone knows what this is about, but just in case, IMDb says it is about a group of 5 high schoolers unleashing supernatural forces upon their town, and they must work together in order to save it, end quote. Mr. Spooks and I have now watched 2 episodes. I have heard a mixed consensus on this, honestly. I've been hearing throughout the community that some people found it to be very spooky and made for millennials. Others have said it's okay and they'll keep watching it. I personally also feel more inclined to say it's okay and I'll keep watching it. I thought the first episode had a ton of potential. The ending was really cool. Episode 2 is the Haunted Mask episode, and for those of you who don't know, I am not a Goosebumps kid. I did not grow up watching or reading Goosebumps. I didn't start enjoying it until I was older. And by older, I mean like literally an adult, a couple of years ago. But I did watch the popular Haunted Mask episode from the 90s or early O's. I don't even know when it came out, but the very popular Haunted Mask episode a few weeks ago. I fangirled over it on TikTok because I just was not expecting how good it was. So when you compare the Haunted Mask episode on this new series to that one, it doesn't hold like any kind of comparison to it, honestly. Like the old one was just way better. Mr. Spooks and I were talking about it, and our overall feeling is the show has potential. It's just not like fun to watch. And I think I keep going back to this a lot. I went on a whole rant about it on the podcast for The Conjuring and for the 5K stream we did. Something just needs to be fun for me to enjoy it and want to keep watching it. And I'm not getting that vibe from Goosebumps yet, but I'm not going to give up on it. I am going to finish it. So if you have started it, let me know in the comments down below how you're feeling about it. Just no spoilers for the people who haven't had time to watch it yet. Okay, and then next we have The Fall of the House of the Usher, which is streaming on Netflix. This is based on Edgar Allan Poe's Nevermore, I believe. I think I could be wrong about that, but it is based on Edgar Allan Poe's work. And it says, to secure their fortune and future, 2 ruthless siblings build a family dynasty that begins to crumble when their heirs mysteriously die one by one, end quote. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like super excited about this one, but the fact that so many people are talking about how good it is has piqued my interest, so I might give it a try once I finish up one of the million shows I'm watching right now or on my watch list. And then lastly, I have American Horror Stories Delicate, and this one is streaming on Hulu as well. So if you've been here a while, you know that I have only watched 2 American Horror Story seasons, which were Murder House and Coven. No, 3, because I also watched 1984, I think is the one. I think that's the year. I hope I'm right. Anyway, those were all really good, but it all goes back to sometimes me and Mr. Spooks aren't always in the mood to watch the same spooky things. So it's really hard to get him on the same page as me. And this one didn't look as scary. And again, it was one of those things that I just like played while I was trying to fall asleep while I was sick. And I ended up really liking it. Like, I did not want to watch it because I just could not fathom the thought of Kim Kardashian. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm just not a Kardashian girly, you know? So I wasn't willing to give it a chance because of that. But she's actually done a pretty decent job. Like, I find her character to be very realistic almost, and it makes her likable for that reason. And the storyline is so strange. I've been talking to my familiar, the gato, about the show because we're both watching it, and he has told me that I think the vibe I'm getting from him is he doesn't like that it hasn't actually been scary. I find it to be almost relaxing in a way because it's like creepy and spooky and you're intrigued. You want to know like what is going on, where is this going? But I almost find the show to be very calming because it's just like the pace feels slow, but not like boring. Like, you're still intrigued. I think Emma Roberts is just so likable too that you are rooting for her. I've just really enjoyed this, which I wasn't expecting to, honestly. I don't know what I expected from this show. I would have never thought I was going to say, oh, this show is so relaxing, but it's kind of been my comfort show this month. Like, I like to put it on now that I'm not sick anymore. I'm actually like caught up, which is also crazy. Like, it's very weird for me. I'm going off, what is it called? I'm derailing right now. But what I'm trying to say is this is the first time like I've watched a spooky show live, if that makes sense. And it's with 2 shows. It's with Chucky season 3 and with AHS Delicate. So it's been a new experience for me to actually be current on episodes. So I really look forward. Like, I get up super early on the day that it releases. I think it's like Thursdays. I'm not even gonna lie. It's not consistent. Sometimes I miss the release day, but I always make it a point for one day during the week to get up super early so I could just relax and watch it before it's time to log in for work. And it's just been like the most calming thing ever. So if any of the other AHS seasons have been like this vibe that they're not like scary, they're just mysterious, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm like, what am I gonna do when I don't have Delicate anymore to like have that very calming morning for myself? Anyway, that is pretty much my entire list of like major spooky shows you don't want to miss that are streaming. They are all new or current. And I just think it's such a great time to really just dive into all of the awesome shows we have available, because we don't always have these many options, it feels. And suddenly we have a ton. And I'm not overwhelmed. I'm more excited to know that I have a ton of spooky stuff to binge in the near future. So let me know in the comments down below which shows you're most excited to watch now that you just heard about them, or if you're already watching some of them, and if there are any in particular that you would love to fangirl over on a upcoming podcast. And if you've made it all the way to the end and you're still tuned in on YouTube, drop what could we put? A TV emoji in the comments down below to show your ultimate Nerdy Ghoul spirit and show everyone that you listened to the entire episode. I hope that you ghouls have a absolutely phenomenal end of your spooky season. You will still be seeing me, but I am not sure that we'll have another podcast before the month is over. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for continuing to be such loyal supporters of Not Another Spooky Podcast. You all know that this is truly my happy space. Like, I feel rejuvenated as a creator right now. I was just telling Mr. Spooks before this, like, you know, I've hit this point in spooky season already where like my gas is running low. Even putting on my face, I wasn't feeling like motivated to just create right now. But the minute that we like set the lighting in here and the mic came out, I was like, let's do this. We're back. This is me. So I really needed this. So thank you more than anything for like giving me the space to be able to do this thing that I love so much, which is talk. But apparently that's what you ghouls love. So thank you so much. And I hope that you ghouls are super excited for the rest of this year, because the spooky vibes do not end on October 31st here. Until next time, sending you ghouls and kisses. Bye.